Greetings, everyone, and welcome to SpaceWeek Live for Sunday, October 17th, 2021. I'm going to kind of wing it this episode. I don't have a script, but I think we'll do okay. So, lots going on. Some interesting stuff happened last week. Let's take a look. All right. So, as you are probably all already aware, Blue Origin launched their second crewed mission on the New Shepard rocket last week. On board were William Shatner, of the veteran actor of Star Trek fame, who is 90 years old and as such is now the oldest person to have been to space. With every Blue Origin launch, or I should say with every New Shepard launch, there's always a debate as to whether or not, not only whether or not people qualify as astronauts, which is pretty clearly not until they are nominated and approved, but also whether or not people have been to space. The crew has been to space. And the answer is yes, they absolutely have been to space, depending on whose definition you use. Now, in the case of New Shepard, that flies to an altitude of approximately 105 kilometers, that is beyond the Kármán line, which is the internationally recognized boundary of space, internationally recognized as determined by the standards organization FAI, a French-based organization whose name I will not try to pronounce. But that's just, again, that's just a standards body. It's not like a law. Whereas in the United States, space is defined as 50 miles, or approximately 80 kilometers, by the Federal Aviation Administration. And in any case, once you have surpassed that line, you have been to space. What the New Shepard crew, or the New Shepard passengers, did not do was achieve orbit, which requires 17,000 plus miles per hour of orbital velocity in order to actually circle the Earth. But they did definitely go to space. The other passengers were let's see, I don't have the names in front of me. The Blue Origin flight operations director, or the flight operations VP, and who was the third passenger? Gosh, I don't even know. You know what? It says in the video description. Flight operations director Audrey Powers. Oh yes, and their two paying customers, which were Chris Boschhusen and Glenn DeVries, who are, I think, both tech executives. But yeah, so let's check out the launch, and I will move on to a video of the crew at Apogee.
Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1.
And I am sorry, Blue Origin commentator, I'm going to have to talk over you. No tears there, but as always, the the New Shepard flight profile is straight up, approximately to 105 kilometers. The crew capsule is the bulb on top of the bulbous thing on top of the booster. The capsule separates from the booster, and then they continue to ballistically travel upwards until gravity starts to pull them, or until gravity pulls them back down. I mean, gravity is acting on them at all times, of course, but it takes some time for gravity to overcome their momentum, cause them to stop, and then fall back down. In all, the crew experience between 3 and 4 minutes of zero gravity or microgravity or weightlessness, which doesn't sound like much, but it is 10 times, more than 10 times as much time in zero gravity that you can experience any other way short of going to orbit. So the parabolic airplane flights, the Vomit Comet and their ilk, only give you about 30 seconds of weightlessness at a time. And, you have to follow a parabolic path up and then down, and then up and then down, and then up and then down. So you have periods of 0G followed by an equivalent period of like double G or extra Gs. Yeah, very different experience. But anyway, let me show you a video that Blue Origin posted of primarily of William Shatner, but of the crew of this flight at Apogee, which is the high point when they're floating around.
Oh, Jesus.
Carmen line.
No description can equal this. Weightlessness.
This is nuts!
Oh my God.
This is
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm telling you.
holy hell.
Oh my goodness me. Oh, wow. I can't believe this.
Now I know that so yeah, William Shatner's reaction was very visceral, very emotional. A lot of people, when they get up there, they become giddy and goof around and laugh. He was just in awe. He was just dumbstruck by the amazing sensation and the amazing view of our planet below. Now, that was just from an altitude of 100 kilometers. Of course, the space station is at about 400 kilometers, and so you would be able to see much farther and a much greater area of land below from the higher altitudes. But in any case, once they got back down on the ground, let me jump back over to the previous video, see if I can find this in the track. So they got back down. I'm sorry. Okay, so I have a self-correction to make. So it is important in life to, when you discover that you've been wrong, to fess up to it. And I've been wrong in the way that I've been pronouncing the Amazon and Blue Origin founder's name. I've always called him Jeff Bezos, probably because it's fun to say, Bezos, but it's actually pronounced Bezos. His family is from Cuba originally, and so it has the Spanish pronunciation of Bezos. So I'll try to use that moving forward. I could mispronounce it as a subtle dig at him because he's a popular target, but no, I prefer to pronounce people's names correctly. So I will do my best to call him Jeff Bezos from now on. So let's see here. Oh yeah, there was a moment when they got off of New Shepard. William Shatner was trying to express his awe at the experience, and Jeff very unceremoniously cut him off so that he could pop some champagne and spray it all over everyone. But I just figured I'd share that with you because it was, I would say, a quintessentially Jeff Bezos moment. Let's check it out.
Expected to have is you're shooting up.
Oh my God.
Give me a champagne
bottle. Come here. I want one. I want to hear this. Here. You want a little of this? Okay.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, the optics might not be great, but as Shatner went on to explain, the experience was nonetheless awe-inspiring, and any of us would be immeasurably lucky to have such a ride, even if it's even if it was facilitated by a man that's a little less than likable. But all right, so moving on. Arianespace and Starsem launched OneWeb 11 from Vostochny Cosmodrome in far eastern Russia. Let's check out that launch.
Ignition. We have liftoff of OneWeb's Launch 11. Let's just enjoy that. What a view. 36 more satellites on the way up into low Earth orbit. Maurizio, how do you feel when you see that?
Always gives me goosebumps. I've seen many launches, but every time is exciting as the first time. So right now
we didn't actually get much of a view of that launch, but it switched to the CGI visualization after a few seconds. But successful launch, and now there are a total of 358 OneWeb satellites orbiting the Earth. Not as many as Starlink, but still the number 2 satellite constellation up there, which is pretty cool. So a couple different broadband, low Earth orbiting satellite internet constellations. A few thousand miles away, China launched the Shihei, or Chase, Chinese Hydrogen Alpha Solar Explorer, and 10 rideshare smallsats from Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center in China. Let's check that out. And again, the white, the abundance of white squares we see falling off the rocket are not ice. I believe it's a hypergolic rocket, like most of the Chinese rockets. Those are like foam insulation panels that are used to regulate or to stabilize the temperature of the payload and the temperature of the fuels stored inside the rocket, and they're designed to fall away at liftoff. Now, with a name like Solar Explorer, you would think this might be a solar system mission that would be going to maybe a Lagrange point or something like that. But no, this satellite will be orbiting the Earth in a sun-synchronous orbit, which is why it was also suitable to be used for those 10 ride shares tagging along. And also in China, the second crew has launched to the Chinese space station, the Tiangong space station, or the Tianhe module of the Tiangong space station. Included amongst the, let's see if, okay, I'll give it a try. Pronouncing their names. We've got, nope, I don't have their names listed, so I'm off the hook. But on this crew were the first Chinese woman to travel to one of their space stations. Now, if you don't recall, this is actually the third Chinese space station, but it's their first one that is intended for long-term use. The previous ones were sort of test articles, and this one is the real deal, on the order of a young international space station, except it's not international. But yes, so the first Chinese, she's not the first Chinese woman in space, but she's the first Chinese woman to travel to a space station, to any space station, which is cool. Congratulations to China. Let's check out the launch.
20 seconds away. I'm leaving my favorite part of the countdown to you, Chu-Yuan. You want to do the honor?
Sure.
10 seconds.
Domestically, for me anyway, being in the United States, we launched another historic solar system mission. The Lucy probe launched on an Atlas V 401 rocket. Interestingly, this Atlas V booster, manufactured by United Launch Alliance, of course, was actually intended, this very booster was intended to be used for Boeing Starliner, but because of the challenges that Boeing Starliner has been facing, the booster was reallocated to the Lucy mission. And what's also interesting is, although the Lucy mission is traveling all the way out to the outer solar system, all the way out to Jupiter's orbit, not to rendezvous with Jupiter, but rather to rendezvous with both clusters of Trojan asteroids, which, if you imagine Jupiter's orbit as a big circle, the Trojan asteroids are basically swarms of asteroids that are located about 60 degrees to either side of Jupiter, ahead of Jupiter and behind Jupiter, along Jupiter's orbital path. And the reason why they are there is because of a quirk of gravitational, a quirk of gravitation that allows for gravitationally stable points between an object that is orbiting a larger object and ahead of and behind it and on the other side. These are called Lagrange points. And so just due to the magic of the physical working of the universe, these Lagrange points allow for stable or semi-stable orbits in places that you wouldn't expect to find things. But in any case, Lucy will be basically making a large, excuse me, Lucy will basically be making a large figure 8 over the course of 12 years in order to, and I'm sorry I don't have a graphic up here for you, but you can just imagine Lucy making a large figure 8 the size of Jupiter's orbit, so very large. And it will actually be visiting one main asteroid belt asteroid, which is, of course, between Mars and Jupiter, called Donald Johanson. It's a little asteroid that was named after the man who discovered the Lucy early human ancestor fossil in Africa back in the 1970s, a man who also appeared on the broadcast of the launch of the probe that was named after his discovery. And Lucy, the fossil, was named for the Beatles song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So, so there were a lot of Beatles references. And in fact, Ringo Starr himself, the Beatle, appeared in a video clip during the broadcast as well, which I didn't even know he was still around, but he sure is. In any case, so it launched successfully, and it is now going on a very long journey past Donald Johanson in the main asteroid belt to 7 other asteroids, a total of 8. 6 main asteroids, and then an asteroid moonlet. So it's like a mini asteroid that's orbiting a larger asteroid. And you know what? Let me find the list of I'm going to try to say the names of the asteroids that it's going to visit. And, okay, mission, let's see. Let's go to history. Lucy Trojans. Okay, first mission to Jupiter's Trojan. Mission targets. Here we go. Let me bring this so that you can see what I'm looking at. All right. So we've got little Donald Johanson, which is the main asteroid belt asteroid. And then we've got Euripides. We've got Polymele. We've got Leucus, or Leucus. We've got Orus. And we've got Patroclus and Minucius. I believe these are a binary pair, so they orbit each other. But it is Euripides, which has, let's see. Yes, Euripides has a small satellite approximately 1 kilometer in size that orbits it, and I don't have the name of that mini asteroid, but it's going to take 12 years to accomplish the full mission, but once the mission is over, Lucy will continue orbiting the sun essentially forever, for millions of years, until it runs into something. It just won't be communicating. But let's check out the launch of Lucy.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. Atlas V takes flight, sending Lucy to uncover the fossils of our solar system.
Tower clear.
He did say the fossils of our solar system. He doesn't literally mean fossils, but the thinking is that these Trojan asteroids are relics of the early solar system. With most of the debris from the early solar system having been gobbled up by the sun or by Jupiter or in impacts with various planets. So what we hope to learn from these Trojan asteroids is the structure and materials and whatever. We hope to learn everything we can about the materials that the early solar system was comprised of. So that'll be exciting to watch, but it will take a while. So as with all solar system missions, we've got to be patient. the Russian film crew, Yulia Peresild, the actress, and Klim Shipenko, the producer-director, who have been living on the ISS for the past 12 days or so, or for 12 days or so prior to their return, have returned. So here we see them gathering together to say goodbye to the ISS after filming scenes for their movie, the translation of which is called The Challenge. It's about a surgeon, played by Peresild, who has to travel to the ISS in order to do emergency surgery or some sort of treatment to an ailing cosmonaut, who was actually played by real cosmonaut Oleg Novitsky. So they took advantage of their professional cosmonaut to play the role of the movie cosmonaut, and they all returned together. So Peresild, Shipenko, and Novitsky all returned on the same Soyuz craft, and so here they are gathering together to say their goodbyes.
Very good. We'll be closing the hatches, and then we'll come back at the scheduled time. Very good copy.
Kodak moment there. So this was in fact the first time that a feature film has been recorded on the ISS, or in orbit even. I'm sure that footage from the ISS has been used in movies, but never has a crew actually gone to orbit to film. So this is a first. Will the second be Tom Cruise? I don't know. We shall see. Originally, the plan was for Tom Cruise to actually launch this month, October 2021, but that seems to have been pushed out a bit. I don't see his name on any of the upcoming manifests, but I think they're going to try to get Tom Cruise up there for what I believe will be scenes for an upcoming Mission Impossible movie, which would make sense, because that's kind of his franchise in the modern version anyway. Modern from the last 25 years anyway. But I think they plan to get him up there by the end of the year. So at some point in the next 3 months or two and a half months, we can expect to see Tom Cruise on the space station, which will be amusing. So here they are coming down for touchdown. They landed no problems. Although, you know, the landing site being located in the middle of nowhere, Kazakhstan, like in a remote area of that country, the viewing options were limited. You know, so like they don't know where exactly the capsule's going to come down, and they don't want the capsule to squish the ground crew. So the ground crew has to hang out a few miles away. Now they do have their Mi-8 HIP helicopters there. Those are very hip helicopters, with the immediate crew that gets out and then assists the capsule crew out of the craft. But in any case, later on we got to see the crew extracted from their Soyuz. There's Yulia Peresild. And this was all standard, but what was interesting about this broadcast was that we actually got to see behind the scenes of a bona fide film production. So once they got the crew out of the craft and sat them down in their chairs, they actually filmed some end scenes for the movie. Like the ending of the movie, I think, is going to be their reception on the ground. And so, you know, they had everybody put away their cell phones and you know, clear out of the way, and then they did some retakes and filmed some scenes of the crew's reception. Yeah, Yulia got flowers. I think Oleg was jealous. He wanted some flowers too, but they didn't give any to him. But pretty cool. It was interesting to see. And there was one moment where the translator was literally saying, "Everyone, do not record video with your cell phones. This will actually be the ending of the movie." And while she was saying that, there's a person with their cell phone like right up in the camera's face of the Roscosmos film, the you know, the space agency coverage, recording Yulia sitting in her chair. In any case, congrats on a successful mission and a gentle return back to terra firma. Now, looking ahead to the next week, we've got, let's see, yes, history. So I've been trying to add history items to my calendar, which I'll link here. I've been trying to add as many interesting space history items as I can to the calendar. If you have any history items that you think are worthy of noting, go ahead and let me know. Probably best to do it in Discord, which I will also link here, or in a comment on a video, but probably not in the live chat, because that's fairly ephemeral, and if I have to do any editing to this video, like this SpaceWeek episode, after it airs, then the live chat comments will go away. So if you do have any space history items that you would like to see me mention, or that you think are worthy of remembering, go ahead and send me a message or a note, and I'll add them to the calendar. So Monday, 10/18, that is October the 18th, will mark the 2nd anniversary of the first all-female extravehicular activity, which was by Christina Koch and Jessica Meir back in 2019, which not most, but many of you probably remember that spacewalk. But it was going to be with different astronauts a few months earlier, but they had issues with the, let's see, and I don't remember her name, but anyway, it was going to be with different astronauts a few months earlier, but they had basically a shortage of the right-sized EMU or spacesuit parts. I think they needed a medium torso, and they didn't have enough medium torsos or something like that. So they actually had to delay the first all-female EVA until they had all the parts they needed. And that was October 18th, 2019, with Christina Koch and Jessica Meir. On Wednesday, October 20th, we have a full moon. The official time of the fullest of the full moon is, let's see, this is Eastern time, 10:57 a.m. Eastern, or excuse me, 14:57 GMT. So that's actually mid-morning for us. But yeah, that's when the moon will be full. So if you want to take pictures of the moon, or if you are a lycanthrope and are looking to avoid the moon, that's when you would want to do it. Then on Thursday, October 21st, we have a South Korean rocket, the KSLV-2, that may be conducting a test flight. The exact launch time is currently to be determined. I don't know the exact time for that, but that'll be taking off from the Naro Space Center in South Korea. The KSLV stands for Korea Space Launch Vehicle 2, also called the NURI, and it was developed by Korea Aerospace Research Institute. So this is pretty cool. Another country developing their own space launch systems. So if there's a live feed of that, I will bring that to you. Otherwise, we'll probably get to see it in next week's Space Week, unless they scrub. Also on Thursday, starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 15:30 GMT, is the relocation of the Progress 78 cargo craft from the Poisk module to the Nauka module of the ISS, or on the ISS. So back in July, Progress 78 docked to Poisk, but it will be relocated to the new Nauka science module, presumably to make way for another Progress, I'm guessing. Either another Progress or another Soyuz coming up with more crew. But that will be happening on Thursday. And of course you can watch that right here. Then on Friday we have a treat. It's an Ariane 5 launch at 9:01 a.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 9:01 p.m. Eastern on the 22nd, or 1:01 a.m. GMT on the 23rd. An Arianespace Ariane 5 will be launching SES-17 and Syracuse 4A into geostationary orbit. These are communication satellites that will be serving the Americas, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic Ocean for SES of Luxembourg. That's the SES satellite. And then Syracuse 4A, built by Thales Alenia Space, will be providing communications for the French military. So yeah, Ariane 5 is one of the nicest looking, one of the most attractive rockets out there, in my humble opinion. Although it is on its way toward retirement. But yeah, so that about covers it for upcoming events. I would like to take a moment to thank and welcome our new channel members, Rothling's Fallen Angel, longtime chatter Piers Morgan, Alien Land, and our beloved, one of our beloved Dutch moderators, Marc Dezaire. So thank you all for becoming channel members, and glad to have you aboard. I need to come up with a Latin catchphrase for the channel. I can't say gradatum ferociter. But, all right. So, let's see if you have any questions. Looks like you do. Comments or questions. All right. Where's my dab? There it is. Piers Morgan. New member Piers Morgan. Question. If you could go up to space on one of these new space tourist trips, or traps, if you will, what would be the ideal length of time to spend in space for me? Well, if I were traveling on one of the suborbital rockets, then the length of time in space really wouldn't be an option. I would be spending approximately 3 to 4 minutes in space. But if I were going up on a Crew Dragon, then the flight profile would probably, I mean, the mission duration would probably be similar to Inspiration 4. That is about 4 days. Although, I mean, they have the option of staying longer, but you know, Crew Dragon is not designed for long-term occupancy. It's not a space station, and so I imagine that my time in space would be determined by the vehicle that I traveled in. Here, you know what? Let me go full screen. Look, it's Bennu. You know what? Let me do something here. Bennu. This is, in fact, the shirt I am wearing. It's got Bennu on the front, Ross Base in the back. There it is. It is pinned. So now, if I had a choice as to how long to spend in space, I would probably want to spend longer than 4 days. If I had an option to do so, I would probably choose to go to the ISS. I mean, unless there was some other space station up there that were, but we don't have another one currently. So I would choose to go to the ISS and spend a couple of weeks up there. Space is such an awesomely incredible and unique experience that you would want to maximize it. I'm not sure I'd want to stay up there for 6 months, but if I had the choice of not going to space or going to space for 6 months, I would absolutely choose 6 months. But I don't know if I'm on the list. I seriously doubt it. So, but we shall see. Marc Dezaire, second new member, Marc Dezaire. I would want to spend at least 3 orbits around Earth. Bearing in mind an orbit is about 90 minutes, so that would be about 4.5 hours. And that's a reasonable amount of time. I mean, that's Lord of the Rings movie amount of time. Return of the King, anyway. Chris V. himself asking saying, I think the designation of astronaut should be left for professionally trained career astronauts. Maybe we should come up with a new name for space travelers. Any ideas? Raw space? That makes sense. I would, like, off the top of my head, I don't know what the suffix not originally meant, like what the etymological origin of that suffix is. But I believe that the distinction, I believe that the title of astronaut should be reserved for professionals who have trained for years to occupy that role. I don't think that somebody just traveling to space on a jaunt should be afforded the same level of titular respect, one might say, as someone who trained for 5 years or more for the mission, or for the job. So, what new name should we call these space travelers? Well, NASA calls them spaceflight participants. Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic, of course, opt for the word astronaut, but that's what's being discussed here. Let's see. That's a good question. New name for space travelers. Gosh, my creative juices just aren't flowing right now. So apologies for that, but I'll have to circle back around and come up with an answer for that, because it's an intriguing question. Chris V provided an example of the loose-fitting solar panels on the Chinese booster. Yeah, they look very loose indeed. Marc Dezaire. Donald Johansson doesn't seem to be a Greek or Roman name. No, I don't think that one's Greek or Roman. But the other asteroids are all named after the names all come from the Odyssey, I think, or the Iliad, one of those classic Greek stories by Homer. Marc Dezaire. Station 240. I think in the future they will want actual samples from one of these asteroids. Of course. I mean, like Sigourney Weaver's character, Dr. Augustine in Avatar. I mean, collecting samples is what it's all about. Because, you can bring back the samples to your advanced scientific facilities where humans can actually work on them and, do all sorts of analyses on, chemical, thermal, et cetera, and you just can't do that with a robotic. I mean, for now, like maybe at some point in the future, we'll have robotic probes with enough AI, capability and instrument suites and whatever to do advanced analysis in situ, but we are not nearly there yet. So for now, our best hope is to, and we probably won't be there for decades, many decades, but for now, the best we can hope for is to bring back a sample so that we can analyze it here. Now, Japan has returned a sample of Hayabusa. They've returned a sample back for analysis, and we're returning the sample from asteroid Bennu. The United States is returning a sample of that asteroid, Bennu, who is the namesake of my cat, who is off to my over here. Oop! I poked him. Poke, poke, poke. The actual Bennu, I'm not sure where he is right now, but in any case, yes, that will be arriving in 2 to 3 years, I think, and then we can get to work on that. But and of course, the Perseverance rover on Mars has collected its first handful of samples, of core samples, from the Martian surface, that it will store them until they choose a place to deposit those sample containers. And then a future mission, which is not yet fully planned out, will then go to Mars and then return those samples to Earth. That's the desire, but it's kind of a long shot. But so hopefully the Perseverance samples don't simply sit there lonely on the Martian surface for all eternity. Hopefully we actually are able to put together and hopefully they don't sit there until humans land on Mars, having never actually sent a sample return mission. But hopefully that sample return mission does materialize, does get funded, and is successful. But that's not going to be for quite some time, probably at least 10 years, if not 20 or more. We shall see. Mars is always a little farther off than we would hope. Marc Dezaire, I haven't been able to find a planned date for when the movie The Challenge premieres. No, there's no release date currently published. Now, it is a Russian production, so there may be less, I don't know if there's a Russian IMDb website, but, there may be less transparent publishing of projected movie dates in Russia as there is in Hollywood. I'm not sure. But I also don't know, if these were the last scenes they needed for the movie, or if they still have a lot of principal filming to do. And they also, of course, have all of their post-production work to do, which takes, at the very least, months. But when it does come out, I'm sure we'd all be interested to see it. Hopefully they do it justice. This was a unique and great opportunity for them, and hopefully they don't make the space scenes too cheesy. And I know there may be some cultural differences, but yeah, hopefully they do their opportunity justice. But at the very least, they have set a precedent for potential future filming of movies in space. And it's not such a bad thing. I mean, people are like, oh, it's a waste of money. But guess what? There's a ton of money in the film industry. And money is, in the end, our number one limiter of space activities. So if we can inject the space industry with some funds from Hollywood, Bollywood, Moscow Wood, or whatever they call it there, then, so be it. All right. Tech Me Piccha. I suspect there's going to be a lot of green screen use or something. The look of space stations are not very appealing on the inside. Lol. That's a good point. The space station is a cluttered mess inside. Almost every surface is festooned with stowage packages and electronic equipment and wires and instruments. The inside of the space station, ceiling, floor, and walls, is very full of stuff. If you've ever seen a tour of the space station, it is a busy space. There's a lot of stuff in there. And it looks pretty chaotic. It is not neat and clean and tidy like it's portrayed in the movies. So it's possible that they may have, that they may be employing green screens or, putting up green tarps or whatever to film some of their scenes in so that they can put different backgrounds besides just the cluster mess of stuff that is the ISS. I think it's probable that they filmed a number of scenes, if not most of the scenes, in the Nauka module, because Nauka is brand new. It hasn't, it's actually old, but as far as delivery to the space station, it's a newly attached module, and it's fairly roomy, unlike most of the rest of the Russian side of the space station, which is quite cramped most places. And it hasn't been in operational mode yet. Sorry. So it hasn't had time to accumulate so much stuff. They don't have experiments in there and a bunch of storage and whatnot yet. So they probably did most of their filming in Nauka. Just a total guess there. Tigrehoff. Lunar eclipse November 19th. Okay. Very cool. I'll bear that in mind. And I think I probably have that if I advance to the next month here. November. Yeah. Okay. So let me go back to... This is November. So all of the solar and lunar eclipses for the year I did preemptively put on the calendar. And you see here, so November 19th, full moon plus partial lunar eclipse. So that is a partial lunar eclipse, not a total. But anytime there's a new moon, full moon, or, of course, the lunar eclipses happen on a full moon. That's kind of the nature of how that works. Just as the solar eclipses can only happen on a new moon. So those are always going to correspond or coincide. But yes, that is on the calendar. Snow Kittens asks, why does Ariane always launch in the middle of the night for us Europeans? Probably because, I don't know. If Ariane, well, I guess it depends on where they launch from. But ultimately, the launch times are not so much based on the time of day as they are the timing of the orbits. And getting into the orbital space they need to, requires that they launch at specific times. But Ariane space actually has by far the broadest range of time zones from which they launch. So you've got Kourou in French Guiana, which is like GMT -2 or something like that. You've got Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, which is GMT plus 5 or 6, something like that. And you've got Vostochny Cosmodrome in far eastern Russia, which is GMT plus a lot more. It's like GMT plus, 10 or 11. No, maybe not that much. But in any case, they basically launch from almost opposite sides of the world, unlike any other launch provider in the world, actually. So that's kind of interesting. Even though it's a Russian rocket launching from Russian soil, it's still sort of managed by Arianespace. So, Eben Waterman, Raw, has anyone identified the guy that almost knocked Kirk over as he was coming down the ramp after exiting the capsule? Oh my gosh. That's like punching Baby Yoda. You don't knock down Captain Kirk. Let's go find him and beat him up. No, I don't know who that was. I didn't even see that. Unfortunately, due to the multitasking nature of operating these live streams, even if I'm just restreaming, I still have I have to monitor the chat for trolls. I mean, like, for example, oh my gosh, in the chat, in the live stream yesterday of the landing of the Soyuz capsule, we were absolutely flooded with Russian spam bots. I don't even, I think they were talking bad about Putin or something. I didn't know what they were trying to say, but there were literally hundreds of different YouTube accounts that this bot was using to spam thousands of comments. It was crazy. I probably banned like 150 accounts. I couldn't even keep up with them in slow mode. It was nuts. At one point during the intermission between the undocking part of the stream and the landing part of the stream, I actually shut down the chat, which is rare for me, because I was like, you know what? We're in the intermission and this is crazy. Like, I can't even, you know, think straight because there's so many spam bots in here. But in any case, that was a bit of a tangent. But last night it was quite a challenge, and thanks so much to Marc Dezaire for helping me with. And I think Microbyte was in there. I'm not sure who else was in there, but thank you so much, mods, for helping me with that, because that was a mess. Hopefully we don't see that again. Let's see. Station 240 asks, states that there is some other space station up there, but it belongs to China. Yes. So once upon a time, there was the Mir space station, the Russian Mir space station, but that deorbited 20-ish years ago. Then there was the International Space Station. Then there were a couple of small Chinese space stations that did not stay up for very long because they were proofs of concept. But now, yes, we have a second permanent space station in the Tiangong Chinese space station, also called China Space Station or Chinese Space Station. It has a few different names. Sometimes they get lost in translation. But yeah, so this is the first time, I think this is the first time in history we've had two permanent space stations in orbit at the same time. Because, well, actually, there was a period of about, I think, 3 years where Mir and the ISS overlapped. So I'm wrong. But Piers Morgan, did the Russian film crew get cosmonaut titles awarded? Of course, the awarding of titles is dependent upon the overseeing organizations to do so. You know, the FAA in the United States, or ESA, or Roscosmos, or whomever. I mean, you know, Jeff Bezos can call his crew astronauts if he wants to, but they're not actually astronauts. So they don't actually get their wings unless the FAA says they get their wings, which they very likely won't. But I have no idea if Russia or Roscosmos plan to grant cosmonaut titles or wings, if they have those, to Klim Shipenko and Yulia Peresild. But as a matter of national pride, it wouldn't surprise me if they did so. But they may also choose not to, because, again, these are just civilian spaceflight participants that did not train for years to be cosmonauts, so they may not award that full title to them. They may award some sort of lesser title to them, or the Order of Lenin, or whatever they do over there. Piers Morgan, did the Russian... Oh, I just asked that. Piers Morgan again. Do the surfaces get dusty and need hoovering or vacuuming? The surfaces in the ISS. So, as you may be aware, dust in our houses, in our lives, is comprised of many different things, but people like to tout that it is largely comprised of human skin cells. And it is true, we shed, you know, millions of skin cells every day, which end up all over everything. But dust is also comprised of other things. It's comprised of, you know, dirt and particulates in the atmosphere, and it's comprised of all sorts of stuff. But in a closed space, you know, with limited, like unless you open your windows and doors and have breezes blowing through your house, there's limited amount of dust that gets in from the outside, depending on how well sealed your house is. And so a lot of it is, in fact, old dead skin cells. And surely that also applies to the space station, because humans are always human, and they're always going to shed skin cells and hair and other things. Hopefully not arms or legs. But yeah, I imagine that the surfaces in the ISS do accumulate some... well, I don't know if they actually accumulate dust, because on Earth, we have gravity too. I mean, they have gravity up there, but they're in weightlessness because they're in constant free fall, right? But down here on the surface, gravity pulls the dust down to surfaces. Like if you have a vertical surface, it's not likely that you'll get very much dust accumulation on that. I mean, there can be some static attraction, some electrical attraction to surfaces, or if you have like dust that's blowing, it can stick to surfaces. But for the most part, vertical surfaces are free of dust, and the dust accumulates on horizontal surfaces, or angled surfaces. And dust certainly doesn't really accumulate on your ceiling, aside from the dust that's naturally part of your ceiling, you know, like the drywall or whatever. But in the space station, the dust would float around because it's not going to be pulled down to a surface. And I imagine that the vast majority of the dust particles just get filtered out through the ISS's very robust filtering system. You know, and so that would be my guess, that the majority of dust gets filtered out of the air because it doesn't have gravity pulling it down onto surfaces so that it can really accumulate. There may be stray dust particles here and there, you know, especially around computer monitors or wherever there's a static charge that might attract them, but you're not going to see like dust bunnies and things like that, because the particles just don't have the chance to settle and accumulate. Interesting question, though. Thank you for sending us down that path. Geraldine Brown, did the Russian module's rockets fire again? Oh, referring to Nauka, the new Nauka module, the unscripted firing of the Nauka module's engines, which tilted the ISS by about 45 degrees a couple of months ago. Not that I know of, but I don't exactly have my finger on the pulse of what's going on the ISS. If it did, it would be alarming if it did, because that would mean that whatever measures they took to shut those engines down were either flawed or incomplete, or that there are more serious issues with the Nauka attitude control system or whatever than was previously understood. But I haven't heard of anything, and I think I would have caught some wind of it somewhere, but I hadn't seen anything. Okay. Anything else? We have some discussion in the chat. That's always good to see. Oh, okay. Snow Kitten says, yeah, it happened again, but with the MS-18 craft they used to return home. So I guess there was an issue with the MS-18, the Soyuz MS-18's thrusters. Interesting. All right. So I think that'll wrap it up for this week. So thank you all for coming. And I hope to see you in the next stream, which will be, what is October? What day is it? That is not the right. which will be on Thursday. The either the Korean test flight, if there's a live stream of that, or the relocation of the Progress module. Until then, keep it raw. Thanks again for coming, and don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you next time.